Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DiChara back again with another awesome segment of how you can win a business. And right now I am broadcasting in 5 different locations with the StreamYard, and I don't know if I'm in the Women's Entrepreneur Network because my friend Haley Gray is actually doing a Facebook Live, which poses a technical question. And I was always wondering, actually, not to change the subject because I'm not even on a subject yet, but it looks like she's hijacked my spot, which is okay. I'm gonna have to talk, but it's her group, so I am not on When Live. I will try to see if she'll let me do a watch party or whatever that is, or maybe I'll just show up and when she's finished. But it was really an interesting conversation she's having with this woman. But because I am committed to not only doing tonight's show, uh, I'm doing two. It's a double header and actually a triple header if you were on my 2 p.m. broadcast today. And tonight, the first topic I'm going to talk about is something that I rarely hear people talk about when it comes to business, and that's what kind of business model are you following? Because there's a lot of different ways to run a business. There's no, uh, let's say, cookie cutter business model, although there are, if you go into like McDonald's or, a franchise, they've come up with their own unique type of business model. Now, there are uh, basic business models that everybody will, recognize and say, oh, yeah, I understand that. But they don't call it a business model. And it's important to recognize, the difference between a marketing campaign and an advertising campaign, the difference between a business structure and a marketing plan or a business plan. All of these things, it might be semantics to a lot of people, but it's important. Words are important. So I am going to introduce you to some concepts that are going to be familiar to you, but also maybe some that you never really thought of, but maybe you should be if you're an entrepreneur. Now, if you don't know me, you don't know, what this is all about, and you're watching this, well, that brings up other questions. But since you are watching, my name, like I said, is Joe DiChara. I am a serial entrepreneur. I love business. And I became a CPA because my father said, he told me when I was 17 that CPAs run businesses. And I never thought twice about it. I said, well, then because I thought you needed to be a CPA to run a freaking business. That's what he made me think. And I didn't know it meant I was going to be an accountant. But here I am 35 years later, and I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs, and I've been in the trenches with them. And I am using all of that experience, all of my knowledge, not only as an accountant, but as an entrepreneur myself, because I've made all of these mistakes that I talk about. Yeah, that's right. Despite all of my experience, all of my knowledge, I've made mistakes, and I continue to make mistakes, and I'm willing to make mistakes. I just try not to make big mistakes anymore, and I think that I structured myself, my business, and my life to not so much minimize the mistakes, because those are going to happen. We're still going to fail. We're still going to have losses. There's no way around that. We're still going to have obstacles. Uh, but what you want to do, what I learned to do, is to focus on structuring myself up for success, to give myself a chance to succeed. And that's what I talk about in these Facebook Lives. And I'm fortunate enough to, have this platform. And I just want to take a look right now to see if I'm live in when, and it looks like I'm not, which is fine. But I just wanted to try to make this interactive. And actually, what I'll do, folks, is I will go into. I'm going to try one again. And what I will do is I will go into my own group, Bedrock Business Builders, and maybe I'll have some better luck there. Because I don't think anybody else was scheduled to be doing a live in there. But let me, okay, so now, and I tried this afternoon and wound up with the same issue where I couldn't actually get to my group, and I don't know why. Let me try here. Here. And here we are live. Okay, so I'm in my group live. It looks like nobody else is there, but that's fine. And if you are, please give me a hashtag live. And I'm actually in the group now. So if you have some questions, you can post them there. If you're watching the replay, give me hashtag replay. And so tonight, like I said, I have a double header. I'm going to follow this broadcast with an interview with a really interesting lady, a friend of mine who's in the cruise business. She's in the travel business, and she's going to be talking about what it's like to, to be in one of those industries that had like 100%. It's like one day you're in business and then you're not. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to share the whole screen because I do have a PowerPoint presentation once again, and I'm pretty proud of myself that I was able to do this. And so you were at how you can win a business, and tonight we're going to talk about how you can create your own business model. Now, I don't really have time, and I think I might have mislabeled this, but I'm going to show you what business models are, and you really got to create it yourself. Okay, that's the bad news. The good news is I'm going to explain to you what a business model is so that now you have more information. My goal is to help people increase their business IQ because business is tough, people. They didn't tell me this in CPA school. I had to learn it in the streets, in the trenches, by failing myself, by seeing other people fail and feeling the pain and all the consequences of starting something and seeing it not work. But then I'm remembering a show from when I was a kid, and that they used to say, I think it was The Wide World of Sports, the agony of defeat. And I've definitely experienced the agony of defeat, but also the ecstasy of victory, and that's what I want people to feel, that victorious feeling when you get somebody to pay you for a service or a product that was only a thought. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. We create positive cash flow from nothing, from an idea. And that's what's always amazed me. So the fact that business is tough, and most people, I can't say most, but millions of people go into business every year and never generate a penny in revenue because they didn't stop to think about the three things that they needed to have a viable business. There's only three things you need. But if you don't have all three of them, you can't have a business. And so, and then for the other people that actually have this and are able to generate some revenue, millions and millions never generate enough to turn positive cash flow, to create positive cash flow. which is the whole purpose of going into business. We don't go into business as a hobby. That's why they call it a hobby. But a lot of people go into businesses and technically they can be called a hobby because they never generate a profit. So these are the three things that you need. You need a product or a service to start out with. I mean, think about it. You can't sell nothing. You could sell an idea, but that's sort of like a product or a service. But you have to have something. You know, some people could sell just an idea, but that's still something. Uh, you need a prospect. You need somebody that's going to pay you for this. And you need to make them an offer. You can't just sit there on the corner with apples. You have to have like a sign that says apples for sale. Pretty logical stuff, but this is, you know, it might be logical when you think about it, but it's the kind of stuff that people don't actually sit down and consciously map out. What is our product? Who is our prospect? What are we going to offer them? Is it something that they need? Is it something that they want? Because forget about selling something that they need. I tried that a long time with accounting and bookkeeping. I think every business owner needs that, but they don't always want it. So, you know, that's the thing. That's the three things you need to have that. And now once you have that, once you're able to sell something, you may have a viable business. Okay. And, you know, what I mean by viable is a business that's going to last and turn a profit and be in there for the long haul. You know, my friend Haley Gray's mission is to help people start businesses and stay in business. And that's what I try to do. You know, so just because you have something that you can sell does not mean that you have a viable business. But what you do have, if you've done that, is you at least have some experience in selling your product and service. And now what you can do with that is look at what were the actions, what were the activities that resulted in that sale. And now you have the makings of your business model. Okay, so let's talk about what is a business model. And I think I got these in order. So, you know, most people that go into a business that are not doing it with intention, like I talk about all the time, that are not laying out their plans, that are not hiring a coach, that are not joining a mastermind, that are just winging it. You may not be aware of this, but you have a business model. One way or another, you are conducting business. If you're spending money and you're trying to sell stuff, you have a business model. You just may not be aware of the business model. So what I'd like to do is first let's talk about what a business model actually is. And you know, like I do with everything, I just Google it to find out what the heck this is. That's how I do my tax research and everything really. You know, it's just too easy. But I find the sources and then I vet them out. So it's not like I'm just doing a Google search and going to the first choice. I do the research and the work behind the content. So anyway, what they say is, and I forget if this is Wikipedia or Google or wherever it came from, but a business model is basically everything that supports the viability of the business, including its purpose, its goals, its plans, and you know, just basically how it works. Now, I define it a little bit more easily, and it's how we freaking make money. That's what a business model is. That's what I'm talking about. Because unless you're making money, it doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant. So when I talk about a business model, I'm talking about how you make money. Okay. And yeah, it goes deeper than that. It can go into your operations, your marketing, and the whole gamut from soup to nuts. It is everything. But what I want you to focus on here is not the semantics or anything, but you need a business model that's going to produce revenue. Now, it's my belief that once you do that, you could at least go back and tie up all the loose ends if you haven't, followed my plan and actually created a solid business model. But let's just focus on this is how we make money. And now this is some examples of simple business models. And the first one I love is the ice cream truck business model, because if you know my story, you you may already know that it's my story about when I leased an ice cream truck to prove that I could actually be an entrepreneur. And it was the semester before I graduated with my accounting degree. But the ice cream truck business model was pretty simple. I bought ice cream, I drove around, and I sold it. It was pretty simple. You know, when I was going to lease the truck, I had already mapped out my territory. I knew where I was going to go. I knew what time. You can't sell ice cream. Well, maybe you can at 5 in the morning. I never tried it, but I knew how I was going to make money. It was simple. There were no questions. It was just a question of how I was going to execute. Okay, so now what just happened was my Facebook Live actually went interactive and I got thrown off. So I'm not paying attention to Facebook Live right now, but if you have a comment or a question, post it there and I'll get back to you. Now, the other business model is pretty obvious because this is the one where we usually get stuck. Because when you're trading time for money, if you think about it, if you're willing to put in 30, 40 hours a week of billable time, I'm talking about billable, if you're in business, and not many of us get to that point, because if you're working by the hour, a lot of our time is spent on administrative stuff and marketing. So, if you're an accountant, a lawyer, you're not doing 100% billable time. So you're limited. Now, one way, and a very, logical way to lift those limitations is to raise your hourly rate. But if you want to if you want to make $1 million, figure out how much you got to charge per hour. It's not going to be easy. You got to make 25, about 25 grand a week. And if you're doing, let's say, 50 hours of billable time, I mean, I think it comes out to like $500 an hour. And there aren't many people. I mean, unless you're like a really high end lawyer or something like that, and you're getting paid by the hour, it's going to be tough to make 10 million a year. And if you're happy with making only $1 million or 500,000, then that business model is fine as long as you're aware of it. There's the online business model, and that gets even more. You can drill down because there's so many ways to make money online. You could do it with webinars. I was going to, I guess, and I got sidetracked, but webinars, stores, schools. I mean, you can have an Etsy store, you can have an eBay store, uh, you can do affiliate marketing. I mean, it's really endless. But each one of those methods is a different business model. Now, you could have a business model that incorporates all of these models. Okay, because to be honest with you, I'm sort of like fudging the whole business model concept. The business model is really the whole kit and caboodle. It's really everything that you do to run that business. And businesses like McDonald's were able to expand exponentially because they had a business model that could be duplicated. Okay, and that's the key. What you want is a business model that can be duplicated if you want to be able to scale. Okay, or at least the components of your business model can be duplicated. For instance, network marketing, multi-level marketing companies. You know, Eric Worre is one of the top speakers when it comes to network marketing. And he says, you know, all you need is the only thing that's important is if it's duplicatable. Okay. And now we get to the coaching business model. Now this is coming up, you know, there's a lot more coaches out there. It's easy. It's an easy business to start, but there's a lot of ways to slice it. So the question is, how are you going to present? What offers are you going to make when you do your coaching? Is it going to be A, B, and C? Are you going to have one high level coaching package? You know, there's a lot of choices. So you can't just go in there saying, I'm a coach. You have to create a business model. And let's see what else I came up with. The event business model. So I have a friend, Craig Doswalt, very, very successful. He's got Rock Your Life marketing, something madness, mastermind. But his model was always revolved around getting people to his 2 big events a year. So he spent, you know, 6 months of the year planning for this massive event, and all of his revenue were like offshoots of that event. So that was his business model. Now that business model doesn't work for me because I just don't want to, you know, put all that work into an event, and that works for Craig. Maybe because he comes from he toured with Guns N' Roses for 3 years and Air Supply before that. So he's used to the event business model, but I'm not. What else do we have here? We got the tribe business model, which is very popular now. You know, Craig also has a big tribe. Over the years, you build up a list, a following. So that's another business model. Okay, so now some of these things can overlap. But if you don't have one core business model where you could say, this is what I do. So right now, my business model has to do with my mastermind groups. A lot of what I'm doing has to do with the online mastermind groups. It's become my new business model. Before I was strictly time for money, or this other one, the project. You know, accountants can do projects. I'll get a big tax audit case, that becomes a project. I know people that do, project management. Okay, so each job is a big project, and so the projects have a beginning and an end. Now, if that's your business model, you have to constantly be searching for more projects, which makes it a hard type of business to scale. You know, and construction companies are like that. They'll get one job and then they'll go on to another job. So, you know, that's the story for now. Like I said, I'm going to be back in a couple of minutes. My advice is to take action, because if you don't, Everything that you've heard here, whatever time you spent, unless you use it and put it to work for you, it's basically a waste of time. You could store it away and maybe use it later, but my advice is to take some of this information. Maybe some of it has resonated with you. Maybe I hit a nerve. Maybe you can relate to some of this. And if so, I invite you to chat with me, to a free chat. All you have to do is go to timewithjoe.com and book the chat. Now, those chats are not meant to meet and greet. It's not meant for networking. Okay, I just had somebody that tried to do that. If you have a question about your business, I don't mind answering it. If you have a situation and you just need some quick advice, that's what that's for. If you need some direction, you want to talk about hiring me, go to Time with Joe. I also would encourage you to join my mastermind group. I still have a free mastermind group going 2 days a week. You go to mastermindwithjoe.com and uh, we will connect there. So I lost my train of thought. I forgot where I was, but that is my story again. Joe DeChara, CPA, over and out. I will be back in a few minutes with my friend Shanta Moni, talking about the travel luxury business meeting business. Because that's what she does. She's a travel expert, and I will be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you.